just a moment. Good morning, good morning. And again, for all of y'all joining, make sure you put your name in the chat box that you are present. I am unable to pull up the chat box on my end. That happened to me the other day, so I'll figure out what that is. But if y'all need to text me any serious questions, I will check my device here if y'all need anything directly. So I will not be able to read what's in the chat box right now, but we will have a fun time. I'll make sure my volume's turned up. That way y'all can hear me, hopefully. There we go. All right. Got 1 minute and then we'll begin. Make sure your name is in the chat box that you're present today, just so we have that. And then, of course, I do actually see who is present for the whole thing. And that is downloadable from a report that I can see on my end. So just make sure y'all are logged in. We should maybe be no more than an hour and a half live together. And then I've got some fun assignments, and then that's it. It's easy peasy. We'll start at 9 o'clock. Make sure that you are able to hear me okay. If you cannot, let me know or turn up your volume. It should be fine. And again, I cannot check the chat box for some reason on my end, so just text me if y'all need something. And almost 9 o'clock and we'll begin. I do want to go ahead and tell you that I have already uploaded this presentation in the student portal for you guys. So that is there for you. And if you're not familiar with the student portal, I will show you towards the end where this is located. And the password, which is skin 4567, skin 4567 on the student portal. You should be able to access that very easily from the right hand side of the SEEI website. Okay. All right. It is 9 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and begin. I'm so glad y'all can join me on this Sunday. I do appreciate that. We always have so much fun, and this will be recorded. And I will post that later today when the download comes through on our student portal together. So again, I am unable to check my chat box for some reason. I bet you I pressed a button or something. So just make sure y'all text me if y'all need anything urgent, but do put your name in the chat box that you are in attendance. And I do see on a separate report who is present for the whole thing. Okay, so just make sure you're present for the whole thing. I've got the assignments at the end of this, and it should be a pretty easy, actually super fun little assignment that's going to be due today based on this knowledge. So I think y'all will have a lot of fun with it. And based on this, you'll actually be able to read a lot of ingredient labels now with ease and not let some of these big words really kind of get you. So this is a good one that y'all have not heard. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and begin. I've got my water and I got my coffee. All right, let's do it. Okay. So this presentation y'all have not heard, and I'm actually super excited to have put it together for you because y'all learn about active ingredients forward and backward, right? You learn it all, AHAs, BHAs, retinols, the vitamin C's, the stem cells, the hyaluronic acid, all that stuff. That should be really very close to your heart. You should know what those are. And of course, as an aesthetic student, you're still learning and kind of comprehending those things. And I do very much understand that, okay? But there's a lot of you that do love knowledge, you know, and I think most of y'all do love this, where you're not wanting just to understand what the active ingredients are, but you want to understand what functional ingredients are. So I'm here to tell you that functional ingredients are everything else in the product that pretty much hold it together. I love talking about chemistry, especially cosmetic chemistry, skincare product formulations. Any questions y'all have for me, totally just shoot them, like I said, in the, in my little text box here on my phone. Just text me if you have any questions because I can't see the chat, but I'm happy to answer it. Or just off to the side this week, if you see me and you're like, hello, Courtney, can you help me research this label on this product that I bought and I want to know if it's going to be good for my clients one day? I love that kind of conversation. I'm an esthetician at heart. I'm an educator at heart. I love this information, and I know y'all do too, which is why we're all here together. So we're going to dive into this. This is a long presentation, but mainly because I made it so it's readable for you guys to look back on later. So again, this is in the student portal, and I'll show y'all closer to the end. Okay. All right. I'm going to move y'all's little faces over here. There we go. So we're going to read each slide. And we're going to then talk about it and just, lay back, get your blanket, whatever, be comfy, because this is really fun information. So really quick, what are functional ingredients? They make up the main part of any cosmetic or skincare product, okay? They help the product spread across the skin. They help place certain ingredients in specific areas, so that's important. They help the product stay mixed and uniform in texture. And then you're going to remember the word buffering systems. We're going to talk about buffers, but those adjust the pH of the product or help the product stay fresh. So for many of you that are, kind of DIY skincare gurus and you like making things at home for yourself, totally make it for just yourself, because I'll tell you, the more I even deep dive into this content to share with you guys, and of course through my knowledge with various things at our skincare lab, what y'all don't realize is that a lot of these labs are actually purifying the water, distilling the water. We're going to talk about stuff like that, and that is the universal solvent. That's what everything else is mixed in. You can't just get water out of the faucet and just throw it into a skincare product and that's going to just work. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different scientific things that are happening in order to make a product work like it is today. So we're going to dive into the ins and outs of that one. You're going to love it. Okay. So vehicles are what we're talking about today. You can actually interchange vehicles and functional ingredients. They're the same thing. You're basically everything else that's in the product. Okay. It is the magic sauce of skincare. Y'all know that is the case for sure. Not only are the actives important, you guys, or the performance agents, which we're about to talk about, but the vehicles are huge. Because remember, when we talk about first, second, and third tier products, that has to do with whether or not it's a good vehicle, number one, whether or not it's a big or small vehicle. That's huge. And I will tell you, I'm actually going to add on to this presentation, because I sat there for hours between Friday and Saturday putting this one together. I still have more to share that's in my notes outside of this. So you'll see kind of my personal research towards the end here, but I not only want to teach y'all what this stuff is, but I want y'all to know what the toxic ingredients are versus the ones that are okay. And I think that's what y'all actually want to hear, which is why I added that as a starting point, several pages worth here to the end of the presentation, so that you can kind of see, because, a lot of textbooks, they'll tell you, well, petroleum is fine, or, octonyl succinate or octinoxate, that's fine. And it's not, though. Like now in 2022, 2023, they're on the toxic list for carcinogens, which is cancer causing. And so I think that part of being an ethical educator here is not only teaching you what is in a book, but also saying, well, how does that resonate today? What's the new research on that ingredient? And is that something that even certain retailers will carry? A lot of times the Sephora's, the big box stores, they won't even carry certain products anymore, because the functional ingredients or the vehicles are actually toxic. So we're going to get into that, but let's read this slide and then we're going to move forward. Ingredients that cause the actual physical changes to the appearance of the skin are known as performance ingredients or performance agents. They are occasionally called active agents or active ingredients. So I want you to use all of those terms interchangeably. I know y'all know that one, but performance ingredients, active ingredients, it's really one and the same. But I just thought this last little section here, that bottom paragraph, was really interesting to you. This actually came from my Advanced Aesthetics Academy textbooks. For those students, I thought this would be interesting for you. There is a trend toward not calling these chemicals active agents, because the similar sounding term active ingredients is reserved for drug products. So we do often call active ingredients, active ingredients, but you can also call it performance ingredients or performance agents. And, I thought that was interesting that they say it's reserved for drug products. I can't quite agree with that, but okay, sure, whatever, right? It's one and the same. That is what is doing the work. And that's what y'all have learned in school thus far. Then the biggest category of functional ingredients are vehicles. Okay. Vehicles are the spreading agents. They are, I see my typo, I'll fix that one. We did this over the last 2 days, by the way. So I've just feverishly put this together for you guys. They are the substances in which the performance ingredients are floating. They are the carriers within a skincare product. So, when you think of a product like this, whatever it may be. You've got to have your actives in there, but there has to be some sort of shelf life to it and spreadability. What a lot of people don't understand, is if y'all actually stop by my office, that little lab table I've got, I want y'all to feel that a lot of actives are actually in powder form, or they might be super duper oily. They might not spread well on the skin. So you might be thinking, well, hello, why don't we just go and buy a bunch of raw materials? Well, that's not quite how that works. So a lot of products have to have the vehicles for it to go on your skin and actually be absorbed into your skin as well. So vehicles, while they might be long words and, some are toxic, some are not, it's important to understand it's actually required for you to be able to apply this stuff to your skin. Active agents or performance ingredients, they can't just be applied independently, so we have to know what's going on here for sure. I did want to start with water. I thought this was really important. I mentioned this a second ago, but water is the most common vehicle ingredient. It is also the universal solvent, if y'all want to write that down, because that'll be on your state board exams. What is the universal solvent? The answer is water, okay? You'll notice that water is listed first on the ingredient label of most products. That means there is more water than any other ingredient in the product. The thinner the product, the more water is present. Y'all do know that. Cosmetic factories have large tanks. Envision this, large tanks to purify water before using it in a formulation. That's why, there's so many reasons why you shouldn't make your own and then sell it to consumers. You can't even ensure that your water is completely purified. These cosmetic factories spend multi-millions of dollars on large tanks to purify the water before it goes into your product, right? This purification process is accomplished by filtering, distilling, deionizing, and sterilizing water before it is used in a formula. So that's important. And just FYI, deionizing water neutralizes ions that can cross-react with other ingredients or make a product unstable. So, oh my gosh, right? If the water is not deionized and if it's not filtered properly by these means, then you could actually mess up the active ingredients and it might not even work. There's so many questions you should have now, right? Don't you want to go to every single lab on the planet and be like, okay, let me see this water distilling tank because I want to know what's going on here, right? Then distillation means that the water has minerals and other trace elements removed from it. Again, not to interfere with the actives and the vehicles that are actually being delivered into the skin. So water can be both a functional and a performance ingredient. Okay. So I actually went through a couple different things here. We're going to talk about emollients. We're going to talk about, other preservatives. We're going to talk about alcohols in just a minute. So just know that there's a couple different categories of vehicles we're going to dive into. And this is the first one. And as y'all read here, you're going to see that I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to teach you about it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good for your skin. And often enough, emollients are very occlusive to the skin. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But emollients, these are ingredients that lubricate the skin. So they work as vehicles to help spread other performance ingredients and give cosmetics a soft, smooth feel. Okay. So examples would be mineral oil. By the way, that is very, very cheap, very occlusive, causes comedones, which is acne, little filaments in the pores. So while mineral oil might be super duper cheap for a formulator to grab, it's definitely not good for the skin, but it is an emollient and it does spread well on the skin. So there's pros and cons to all this stuff, right? That might be fine for the body. And in fact, these things here, mineral oil, petroleum, and silicones, they actually don't cause any allergies. So while everybody thinks, oh gosh, well, all these unnatural products that are, synthetically made might cause allergies, these specific ones don't, but they do cause other issues. Like I mentioned, comedogenicity, which means it's causing comedones or causing acne pustules to happen. Petroleum is another one. So you can resonate this with things like Vaseline. That is straight up petroleum gelling, very occlusive, cuts off oxygen supply to the skin. But there's some hydration qualities there for sure. That might be okay for heels or a scratch or scrape on your knee Definitely, excuse me, definitely not for things like anti-aging on the face, neck, and décolleté, right? Silicones. I have a love-hate relationship with silicones. We're going to dive into that one, and I know you will too. Remember, dimethicone is actually a type of silicone that is used heavily in many products that you're going to be using all the time as an esthetician. And there's nothing wrong with dimethicone. I would actually say that's on the higher end of it, but a lot of silicones, because they're emollients, they actually can be occlusive as well. There are some more breathable silicones that we'll talk about in just a moment. Then silicones in and of itself, I mean, all of this, again, good to take notes on. I will tell you for sure. I do have more of an activity driven assignment that y'all are going to do for your assignments to turn in, just so you know, but understanding this and taking notes will help you do it. But silicones are a multi-purpose group of different chemicals that are commonly used in many skincare and makeup products as protectants in vehicles. I think the best way to look at that definitely is protectant, meaning it can definitely cause a film to overlay on your skin, which means no oxygen flow. And that's a little bit of a problem, I would say, in modern day aesthetics, but some silicones are okay. So we'll get there. Silicones leave a protective film on the skin surface, preventing water evaporation. Again, really good for things like cracked heels or something on your body where there was a wound. I mean, there's, some true reasons why emollients would be possible and needed, for skin. So known as breathable barriers, I disagree with that one. They help protect the skin from dehydration without being heavy or completely occluding the skin, silicone specifically. So if you're comparing silicones to the other emollients, whether it's mineral oil or petroleum, if you're thinking good, better, best, I mean, mineral oil and petroleum are definitely going to be the most occlusive silicones. They're still slightly occlusive, but a little more breathable. I'll give them that. Then silicone examples, okay? Cyclopentasiloxane, okay, that's one. And I do want you to try to write these down so you can recognize these. It's used as a spreading agent. When y'all are looking at long words, just break it down into tiny increments and try to say some of this stuff out loud because, y'all are the professionals now. You can't just opt out of trying to say some of these hard things. You can do it. Everybody can read. I promise. Just break it down into small increments and it's completely fine. But you might see that one. Cyclopentasiloxane is that one. Dimethicone, put a star by that one. You're going to see that one a lot more. And you see the difference here is it's a smaller, lighter version of silicone. So that one is very heavily used. And I would say out of all of these options, that's the only one that I would be okay with. But the rest of them are a little more occlusive, which is fine under certain circumstances. Cyclomethicone is another one. It's used primarily as a vehicle or emollient. So all these definitions are very similar, but it's a little bit more of a different chemical makeup. And as a side note, again, for those of y'all commenting in the chat box, if y'all need to tell me anything super important, just send it via text because I'm unable to check the chat box, okay? Phenyltrimethicone. That's another one. This is a silicone-based emollient. So as long as y'all look at ingredient lists and you see these ingredients, you're like, okay, that's a silicone. Is this one dimethicone? Because if it's not, it's probably a little bit more occlusive. It's going to be more emollient, more hydration based. So you can kind of decipher a lot of things about a product without looking at the name of the product and say, oh, well, this is what it's meant to do, right? Based on what's in it. And then polymethylsilsequioxane is a silicone-based vehicle as well. So just keep these in mind. Again, I have already uploaded all of this to the student portal for you because I know these are long words. And so I am going to move forward if that's okay. But long words, still want you to write them down, still want you to know it. Frequently used in moisturizers, sunscreens, serums, and even foundations. So let's use one example. If y'all have clients where they are bringing you in all their products and their products might be okay, their skincare products, but let's say you actually have them bring in their makeup, their foundation, and you look and you see that it's full of cyclopentasiloxane, and that might not be as breathable as a foundation that has dimethicone as a base, or of course, a mineral-based foundation, which is the better option of all the above. So just kind of help your clients with these ingredient breakdowns. It does take some time. So you could say, okay, let me get the name of that product. I'm going to do some research on this for you and I'll answer you. I'll send you a whole thing, a whole breakdown within 24 hours. That's the kind of esthetician that people are looking for, the ones that are willing to have that office time to sit there and help people answer these questions. We cannot just off the cuff answer every little thing. Sometimes things take some research, and that's exactly what y'all can do for people. Then, one of the best features of silicone is that they are non-comedogenic, non-pore clogging, if you're comparing it, by the way, to petroleum or mineral oil, sure, and non-acnegenic, do not cause acne flares. Petroleum, which is silicone compound and mineral oil, or excuse me, petroleum, silicone compounds, and mineral oil are biologically inert. I do want y'all to notate this one. All three of those, which are emollients, are biologically inert, which means that they do not cross-react with normal skin biological processes within the skin, making them extremely unlikely to cause allergic or irritant reactions, extremely unlikely. I like that. This came from a scientist, and in fact, that a doctor wrote this whole thing in terms of where I'm getting this information from. I like that because if you are dealing with somebody who's very allergy prone, these are going to be some things that actually do not cause allergies, but there's some other things that, you know, I don't necessarily like about mineral oil and petroleum. So just think about that one. But out of all three options of emollients, I would say silicones are going to be your better one for most of your consumers. And then it goes on to say plant oils are actually much more likely to cause allergies, funny enough. So keep that in mind. All of our natural ingredients, you know, that we tend to love that are for plants, some of those can actually cause allergies. So just keep that in mind. Okay, we're moving on to the next category. So we talked about emollients, right? We got that under our belt. Now we're going to talk about fatty acids. Let's talk about this. This is really important. This is exactly almost how it sounds. It creates some sort of like a fat in the product. So this is a little bit easier in my thought process personally to remember. So we're going to talk about these and look at some examples. But fatty acids are derived from plant or animal sources. They are not corrosive acids like hydrochloric acid, and they are not inflammatory to the skin. So that's great for those that do have inflammatory skin disorders, right? They are triglycerides that have been broken down by removing glycerin from fat, okay? Triglycerides. Then they help give a soft, firm texture to lotions and creams. They also add stability to formulations. So, and that makes sense to me. If you add kind of a fatty acid to other ingredients, it's going to bring a little bit more stability to that product, have a little more shelf life probably. So fatty acids are often used in creams, lotions, shaving creams, funny enough, and lipstick. I thought that was fun for you guys, and are used as pressing agents in pressed powders and blushes. So if you were wondering how the powdery substance of makeup powders or blushes actually come together in this compact, fatty acids are used to kind of congeal it together. I thought that was neat. They're also used in foundations and cleansers. Here's some common fatty acids used in cosmetic formulations that you're going to be paying attention to for sure. So let's look at them. Stearic acid is one. It's derived from animal fats and some plants. So stearic acid, you probably have seen that in products before. Caprylic acid, derived from coconut oil, palm oil, or animal sources. You're going to see this coconut oil and palm oil thing a lot. That is where a lot of these fatty acids are derived. But if you are familiar with coconut oil, you understand it is a thicker, it's a fattier sort of substance anyway. So that makes sense to me, right? Oleic acid is from animal fats and vegetable oils. Myristic acid occurs in coconut oil, animal fat, palm seed, and other vegetable fats. So fattier, thicker, heavier ingredients here. Palmitic acid is again derived from plant and animal sources. And then there's lauric acid. It's derived from laurel oil and coconut oil. So as a review, stearic acid, caprylic acid, oleic acid, myristic acid, palmitic acid, and lauric acid. They are all fatty acids that just really kind of bring a base to a product, hold things together, a little more fattier, a little more heavier. So although fatty acids have many good properties for cosmetic use, many can be comedogenic. okay? Because they're fattier, they're going to tend to cause a little bit more of an acne problem for some folks that are more acne prone. But who would these be good for? This is going to be fine for people with dry skin or very sensitive skin. So again, not only understanding acids, but understanding the vehicles. The very important vehicles are very important to understanding skincare and helping your clients in the long run. You don't want to give a client a product that's not good for them. Okay, this one will kind of blow your mind because when y'all think of alcohol, y'all think of something that is a volatile chemical that evaporates quickly and is inherently drying. And that is the case for some alcohols, but not all. So there is something called a fatty alcohol. So we're going to talk about that one. Fun fact. Although isopropyl or rubbing alcohol can be very drying to the skin surface, this is only one type of alcohol. Not every alcohol in a product is drying. So please be careful how y'all read these labels. If you see something that says, yada, 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 alcohol, you're just going to tend to want to think, oh my God, that's very drying. That's not the case. If it's a fatty alcohol, there's actually the opposite happening here. So the term alcohol is a chemical term that simply means that an oxygen atom and a hydrogen atom have attached themselves to the end of a carbon chain. Okay. Just by the way, simply means that an oxygen atom and a hydrogen atom, so O and H, have attached themselves to the end of a carbon chain. So carbon, C, 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 C. There's an O and there's an H attached. Easy enough. That's what an alcohol is. Most types of alcohol used in the cosmetic industry are actually more like oils or waxes. So think of oils, think of waxes, beeswax, very, very thick, right? There are actually many different types of fatty alcohols, which are fatty acids that have been exposed to hydrogen. So we just talked about fatty acids. If it's been exposed to hydrogen, H on the element table, it then turns into a fatty alcohol. Interesting fact. They have a slightly waxy feel as a raw ingredient. So waxy, which to me is very thick. Okay. They are used as emollients and moisturizers. Fatty alcohols are. Fatty alcohols are frequently used to improve the viscosity of lotions and creams. And just, I thought y'all would want to know this. Viscosity means the thickness and the liquidity of a solution. So I'm thinking things like, lip products that need to be a little bit thick, have some viscosity to it that just creates a little bit more of a thickness to what's going on there. So fatty alcohols. There are many different types, just so you know. So we're going to look at a couple of them here. Cetyl alcohol is one. It's a widely used fatty alcohol used as an emollient. Okay, so please write that down. Cetyl alcohol is a fatty alcohol, meaning it's an emollient, an emulsifier, an opacifying agent, meaning it creates opacity. I actually put that here for you. We'll talk about it. And a spreading agent. It's derived from coconut or palm oils or made synthetically. And again, think of it as a fatty acid that has the hydrogen atom attached to it. And now it is known as a fatty alcohol, cetyl alcohol. Opacifying agent means a functional ingredient that helps a product to be opaque in color. So I'm thinking more of your matte finished lipsticks. Okay, look for cetyl alcohol. Then lauryl alcohol is another one. Remember, we saw lauric acid. It's got a hydrogen atom attached to it. So now it is not a fatty acid. It's a fatty alcohol, lauryl alcohol, derived from coconut and palm seed oils. And in this instance, I do have one little typo there. I will fix it and re-put it in the student portal for you guys, but used as an emollient and spreading agent. Then stearyl alcohol. So we did have stearic acid. That was a fatty acid. Now hydrogen atom attached. We've got the stearyl alcohol now under fatty alcohols. It's derived from stearic acid, used as a foam booster in detergent cleansers. So if you have a very foamy cleanser that removes a lot of oil off your skin, I bet you there's some stearyl alcohol in there. It's used as an emollient and as a builder of viscosity and opacity. Interesting stuff, right? I actually have some products, some specific products that I actually pulled into this too. So while we are talking about very individualized things, I've got some good examples for you because y'all are visual learners like me. So we're going to dive into some actual products that I pulled that y'all are going to be familiar with that, are something you might get at Sephora, hint, hint. Then there are many types of fatty alcohols continued. We got a couple of other ones. Cetyl alcohol is a mixture of cetyl and stearyl alcohol. Its uses are the same as its parent alcohols. So cetyl and stearyl alcohol are mixed to be known as cetyl alcohol. That's an interesting one. And then oleal alcohol is derived from oleic acid, which is that fatty acid we talked about. Now it's got a fatty alcohol property to it, the hydrogen atom attached. It's somewhat fattier and greasier than other alcohols, and it's often used in super fatted soaps and dry skin emulsions. Okay, so again, good information for us. Fatty alcohols, very interesting the way that you think about it. This is another category now. So far, we have talked about emollients, fatty acids. We've talked about fatty alcohols, and now we're going to talk about fatty esters. There's so many different categories here, which I think is really neat, but I gave you an easy way to remember it closer to the bottom here. An ester is formed when an organic chain, okay, carbon chain, acid combines with an alcohol. So an ester is formed when carbon is added to that alcohol. So this is very progressive. You got your fatty alcohol, but now we've added C, carbon from the elemental table, to that mixture. Now it is a fatty ester, okay? Fatty esters are frequently used in skincare products and cosmetics as emollients and conditioning agents. One of their best qualities is that they do not feel as oily to the touch as some other types of emollient fatty ingredients. They do not feel as oily to the touch, so that's good. Whereas certain things can be a little bit more oily, such as different fatty acids, I would say, or even the petroleum, which is more of an emollient. This is going to feel less oily. So nice for those people that do like that and actually need it. It's going to feel less oily. So as both functional and performance ingredients, esters can be used to smooth the surface of the skin or hair, to serve as a protectant, and to help replace natural fatty esters that are missing from older, drier skin types. Esters are sometimes used as emulsifiers, by the way. The easiest way to spot a fatty ester is an ingredient label. In an ingredient label is that they have the suffix ATE at the end. So if you see isopropyl palmitate, that is a fatty ester. Okay, it's not going to feel as oily, but still oftentimes used as an emollient or an emulsifier in a product. And when I think emulsifiers, by the way, I think it's emulsifying together, and it helps mix products together. So absolutely necessary. Here is a list. So fatty esters frequently used in skincare and cosmetic formulations can be isopropyl myristate. That's one. ATE is at the end of most of the, or pretty much all of these. Isopropyl palmitate's another one. Ethyl hexyl palmitate, ethyl hexyl stearate, isopropyl isostearate, glycerol stearate is another one. Propylene glycol can either be by itself, or you might see it as propylene glycol decaprate or propylene glycol decaprilate, okay, with ATE at the end. Again, it's a fatty ester. Cetyl palmitate and decyl oleate are others also. Again, it's just a little bit different. Fatty esters, again, mean that they're, emulsifiers, and they have some hydration qualities to them, and they help spread everything, but it's a little bit less oily. So fatty esters are less oily is kind of the takeaway I would kind of put in your notes on that one. Then I love a surfactant. So if you actually took the chemistry class already, then you know. If not, then I will explain what a surfactant is. Got a little copy there. Okay, so surfactants have something, you guys, that is a water-loving head and an oil-loving head at the end. So there's a difference between hydrophilic and lipophilic heads. Surfactants actually take your oilier solutions and your watery solutions, and they mix it together. Otherwise, if you don't have a surfactant, it's going to look like the Italian dressing in your refrigerator. It's going to separate. Surfactants are really neat to me in cosmetic chemistry, just because it really congeals everything together. You can now mix oil and water emulsions via surfactants, and then you're good to go. I mean, it's really amazing. So surfactants are chemicals in cosmetics that lower surface tension on the surface of the skin, so spreadable and mixable, to allow products to slip across and adhere to the skin. That makes sense, right? Surfactants are also including of detergents and soaps. Detergents are surfactants used for cleansing. They break up oils, fats, and other debris and cause the debris to separate from the skin, just by the way. So this is actually a different way to look at surfactants aside from your chemistry lesson, because we think of surfactants as making something mixable, but this actually dives in a little more. So look at what it says here. The 4 types of surfactants vary with the pH of the water being used in the formulation. The 4 basic types of surfactants are as follows. There's one called an anionic surfactant. It has a negative ionic charge. An anionic surfactant is strong cleansers. They're frequently used in household products. So anionic surfactants, negative ionic charge. Then you actually have a cationic surfactant, which has a positive charge. They're frequently used in cosmetics and hair shampoos. So cationic surfactant has a positive charge. Then there's amphoteric surfactants. They may have either a positive or negative ionic charge, so either or. They will adapt to the pH of the water used in the solution. Super cool. Because they are so adaptable to both acid and alkaline water, they are frequently used in facial lotions and creams. The neutrality of the surfactant is important to the mildness of the cosmetic product. So amphoteric can be both positive and negative. It's a little bit more easygoing. It can just kind of form to whatever it needs to, as it needs to. And then there's a non-ionic surfactant. It's used in heavier creams such as hand creams. Okay, so as a review, we said there's an anionic surfactant. We said there's cationic surfactant. So the anionic is the negative ion. Cationic surfactant has a positive ionic charge. Amphoteric can be either or. And then non-ionic surfactants have really no ionic charges at all, but they're used in heavier creams. So you don't need to know any of this for a test, but the way I teach aesthetics is just more than what you need to know, right? It's good to read on this and just be aware. That way you're going to be better than everybody else. Why not, right? Moving on. Surfactants, okay? That, and again, this should be the same thing, but surfactants are chemicals and cosmetics that lower surface tension. Again, we said that already, but all of these surfactants can help remove oils, dirts, and then other debris from the skin surface. I'll fix that typo as well. Mild cleansers designed for dry skin types have less surfactants. Mild cleansers designed for dry skin types have less surfactants, and more aggressive cleansers for oily skin have more surfactants. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing to think of as well. Okay, so far, and I'm trying to kind of give us a review a little bit so y'all are kind of following along. I think that when you're learning a lot of information, you have to think, okay, here it is in segments. We talked about emollients. We talked about fatty acids. We talked about fatty alcohols. We talked about fatty esters. And now we're talking about surfactants, okay? Then emulsifiers is the next one. And I wanted to put all these pretty pictures in here so that you could have something pretty to look at, right, while we're learning all this stuff. So emulsifiers are chemicals that keep water and oil solutions well mixed, as in emulsified, right? Emulsifiers work by forming a sort of shell around a very small oil droplet, allowing them to remain suspended in a solution of water. That's really fascinating to me scientifically. And some might actually call this time-released formulations, where it creates a shell around something that then needs to be delivered later, or in such a way to where it is emulsified. So I think that's fabulous. Emulsifiers help provide stability and texture to lotions and creams. They make the cream feel even and smooth. If they were not used in a moisturizer, the lotion would feel wet and oily when applied. So again, you cannot think, what if I just apply the active ingredient? What if I just buy the raw material? Well, if you take powdered hyaluronic acid and try to apply it to your skin, that's not actually going to go in your pores. So you have to have these vehicles in order to drive it into the skin. Don't ever forget that. Then, some frequently used emulsifiers, and I want to go ahead and tell you that some of these are not good for you. So we're going to dive into that, but that's okay. Some of them are fine. But some frequently used emulsifiers are as follows: amphoteric 9, Sedith 20, beeswax. You're going to see a lot of beeswax used in thicker products. There's a sunscreen that is from a brand that I cannot think of, but it uses beeswax to really spread out the ingredients in the product so you don't have that white film. So the zinc oxide is actually pretty neat, but that kind of, formulation would only be best, in my opinion, for hot summer days or for body, because you can't apply beeswax to your face for acneic clients and then that'd be okay, because that can be very occlusive. But then you have polyethylene glycol. You're going to see that in an ingredient label as PEG, polyethylene glycol. So just know what that means when you do see it. Polysorbate is an emulsifier. Carbomber you see a lot. That one's fine. Polysorbate is fine, by the way. Carbapol, you're going to see that one in stearamide. You're going to see that one as well. So emulsifiers help oils and watery substances and certain things to mix or emulsify. Surfactants can do that as well, and some surfactants can be emulsifiers. Then, and I thought this was really fun information for you guys, by the way, because not some, but so many people actually take marketing for what it is. In life, y'all cannot be followers. Can y'all please not be followers? Because so many people just read something or listen to what a doctor says or what, someone says on a commercial, and that's their truth. And that's not always the case. So the phrase water-based generally means that the emulsion or lotion is an oil in water emulsion. So there's actually still a little bit of oil in there. It's not just water only. And I think that's where people get confused. It does not necessarily mean that the emulsion is oil-free. Right? The main reason cosmetic companies refer to a product as being water-based is to appeal to the consumer. So read the label. Don't just read the marketing jargon put out there to sell it, because not always is that what it actually is, right? Read what's in the ingredient label, which is what we're going to do today. Then solvents are neat to me because that's important. Let's read on these. Solvents are used in cosmetic formulations either as vehicles for the product or as vehicles for other ingredients. Okay, that's important. Plant extracts used in cosmetics, for example, have to be extracted from the actual plant. The solvent normally used for the extraction process is propylene glycol. And I just thought this was neat for y'all to read so you can understand, like when you extract plant extracts from plants, you have to use a solvent to kind of break it down to get it out. So if you see, for example, that arnica extract, which is Arnica montana, is on a cosmetics label, it often means that the arnica extract is present in a solution of propylene glycol or another solvent. There is usually a solvent present to pull extracts out of things. Both the extract and the solvent must be listed on the cosmetic product label according to the FDA. However, both ingredients still must be listed in the exact order of predominance in the final formulation. And y'all do know that. So it's always, an ingredient labels the most to the least all the way down. So you always know what's mostly in the product. And can you imagine that used to not be the case? I mean, that really turned around, I want to say in the 50s or 60s, which is not that terribly long ago. Okay. Now we're going to talk about antimicrobials and preservatives. When people think of preservatives, they think every preservative is bad, and that's not the case. Now, a lot of these are, but I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit later. I have a whole list. Okay. So preservatives are chemical agents that inhibit growth of microorganisms in creams or cosmetic products. That has to be there. I mean, if you are manufacturing for Walmart, you cannot let products sit on the shelf that are going to spoil. That is actually not even worth the money and the time invested to even get it on the truck out to the store. I mean, so we take a lot of things for granted, and we actually do a lot of blaming to these organizations, these factories, because we just think, oh, we are putting all the stuff in the product. Well, yeah, they have to though, but there's some things that they can do better out and take out. Yes, there's good ones, there's bad ones. So let's, look at those as the truth of what it is. The three main types of microorganisms present in cosmetic formulations can be bacteria, fungi, and yeast. So, oftentimes you've got to have preservatives and carriers that will hold in your glycolic acid, that will hold in your retinol. I mean, your vitamin C, holy cow, that is a super volatile, very quick oxidizing ingredient. You've got to have some sort of preservative there to hold it in a little bit and put it in blue or amber bottle. This is a blue bottle. And this is what we've got the Ferulic plus C in, but this just happens to be the plasma drops too, because this actually has perfluorodecolin in it. Perfluorodecolin is delivering oxygen. If actual oxygen from outside gets in this, it is ruined. So it's got to be in a dark bottle so that anything like sunlight getting in there or opening and closing the bottle will not cause it to oxidize and then frankly not work. So there's a lot of science that goes into this stuff that I think is fun to really dive into. Preservatives work by either directly poisoning the bacteria or releasing other chemicals that poison the microorganisms, okay? Which is why it is questionable sometimes, right? So let's talk about some of the things, but then we're going to talk about what not to use, and I have that coming up. And again, if y'all need to send me any text or anything like that, totally do, because I'm unable to check the chat box, but here we go. The most commonly used preservatives are methylparaben, polyparaben. We know the parabens are not good. Okay, we just know that. Then there's imidazolidinylurea. No to that also, but other paraben groups such as ethyl and butylparaben are also used. Good information to have here. Frequently used preservatives are methylparaben, we said that already, propylparaben, ethylparaben, butylparaben, caprylyl glycol, which is all right, chlorophenicin, which is not okay. And I don't think I actually dove into this one this time, but I have it in my notes to actually go over with y'all in another session. That one's not good. It's actually carcinogenic. Chlorhexidinol, got it, right? Isopropanol butyl carbonate, DMDM hydantoin, and then methylchlorothiazolinone, and then methyl, and I went over this yesterday, methylisothiazolinone. Okay, so again, I know they're hard to pronounce, but try it. It's easy if you break it down. But those are some frequently used preservatives. They have to hold the products in the product and make sure there's no microbial life happening. Otherwise, you cannot move forward with using those products oftentimes. Okay. Then there's some others, polyamino propyl biguanide, quaternium 15 is not good. I think I have that on my list to go over with you guys in just a little bit. We've got imidazolidinylurea, diazolidinylurea, phenoxyethanol, cetylpyridinium chloride. Those are some as well. Of course, all the urea ones are not a good one either, which I'll dive into also. Because they are present in small quantities, they are almost always some of the very last ingredients to be listed in an ingredient label. But these days, if everything has preservatives in it, it's going to get into our bloodstream and cause some carcinogenic issues. Some of these are fine and some of them are not. So we're going to talk about those. Then, there's other types of preservatives as well. And some of those actually are antioxidants. And that is what you want to use, by the way. So these are all the good ones here. Antioxidants, as y'all know, actually reverse oxidation. So as you see here, it says antioxidants are chemicals added to cosmetic formulas to prevent oxidation, the process by which oxygen is exposed to certain ingredients, which result in a breakdown of the ingredient. They also keep creams and other products from developing color and odor changes by oxidation. Remember back to your chemistry lesson, oxidation is the process of delivering oxygen into the skin, but oxygen that causes oxidation, which is free radical damage, and the reduction of hydrogen. Reduction is the introduction of hydrogen and the reduction of oxygen. So antioxidants actually do the reduction. They are the reducing agents. So that's actually something good to write down if y'all have not had the chemistry chapter yet. Antioxidants are the reducing agents. Oxidation causes free radical damage, which is not good. Antioxidants reverse it. But I bet you didn't know that antioxidants are types of preservatives in products, which is a beautiful thing. Not everything has to be a paraben. Not everything has to be quaternium 15. It can be antioxidants, which are a little bit more expensive, but that's okay. And that's exactly what labs should use. So butylated hydroxyanisole is BHA. You'll see that one, and that is fine. Butylated hydroxytoluene is BHT. That one is fine. Tocopherol, y'all know that one. I've talked about that one multiple times. That is vitamin E. That is fine. Vitamin E can have a little bit more of the occlusive properties, great for drier skin types. It is fine to use it though, and it's usually in suspended formulas of vitamin C. Vitamin E actually can stabilize vitamin C very, very well without having any carcinogenic issues. Benzoic acid is another antioxidant, very good preservative. I love that one. Then this is another thing, another category, chelating agents. Chelating agents, you guys, are chemicals that are added to cosmetics for improvement, I'll fix that typo as well, of efficacy of the preservative. Chelating agents work by breaking down the cell walls of bacteria and other microorganisms. EDTA, which is coming up down here as you see under the common ones, stands for something called ethyl N-diametyl triacetic acid. Okay, so EDTA, of course, you're not going to want to say that all the time, but these ingredients are usually down further on the ingredient list due to small quantities, but they're used for the improvement of efficacy of the preservative. Okay, so let's actually break down what that is. If you have a preservative, some of those preservatives need to have improvements of their own efficacy. So then if you see a preservative, you're going to then see a chelating agent. Does that make sense? So a lot of these work very synergistically together. If you see a preservative, you're then most likely going to see a chelating agent, and you're going to see these a lot. Sodium EDTA, chelating agent, that's going to help a preservative. I would prefer to see the preservative, of course, be an antioxidant. Trisodium EDTA, tetrasodium EDTA, those will be kind of the helpers of these preservatives. It's kind of like how I explained that, retinol can help AHAs or BHAs work better, right? Retinol in a product can actually help glycolic acid work a little faster, or if you use it alongside glycolic, it will work a little faster. Chelating agents are really the support team, the cheerleaders of preservatives, if that's how you want to maybe make a note on it. Then I love a good buffering agent because that's how I personally teach chemical peels. I love a buffering agent. So before we get into that, understand that, golly, a couple of years ago, we used Image Skincare a little bit, and I like Image Skincare, but a lot of their chemical peels are very buffered, and that's fine for some people, right? But here's the kind of comparison. If you have a Glow Skin Beauty chemical peel, which is very, very watery, y'all are kind of familiar with those. So the Glypro peels, the triple transformation, you pour it out of a dropper, it's very watery. So there is no buffering agent in it. However, the Image peels would be maybe the same sort of glycolic mixture, but it would have aloe in it. The aloe in it made it thicker, and that was the buffering agent. And buffering actually causes the pH to be raised, which can make it a safer chemical peel, but can also make it not as effective. Does it make sense? So there's good and bad reasons why buffers would be okay. And I always say, have a little bit of everything. I would have at least 2 product lines that you use very religiously, because you need some that are a little bit more watery and some that have a little bit more buffering agents to it. Every client's going to need something a little bit different. But buffering refers to adjusting the pH of a product to make it more acceptable to the skin. Chemists add a small amount of an acid or basic chemical to raise or lower the pH as needed. Citric acid is commonly used to lower the pH of a product, by the way. So that way, if you've got a lotion or cream that is a little too alkaline and you want to bring it a little bit further down, close to that neutral point of 7, you could add citric acid. You also see here tartaric acid. By the way, y'all remember these are AHA, so they can be performance ingredients or they can be buffering agents for certain reasons too, just like this. Tartaric acid is another acidic agent used in small quantities to lower the pH to an acceptable acidic level. So there you have it. Those are some easy ones. And we do know that those would be great ones because citric acid and tartaric acid have heavier molecular weight, which is over 100. So it's going to be gentle, but effective enough to lower the pH of a product. So if you're kind of sitting in a lab doing that with a chemist, you understand, based on the fact that it's an alpha hydroxy acid added to a product is going to lower the pH, making it a little bit more acidic, a little bit more aggressive. Then on the opposite end of the spectrum, You've got ammonium carbonate, calcium carbonate. I'm going to tell you about calcium carbonate. Potassium, sodium, or ammonium hydroxide can be added to raise the pH. By the way, what's the brand? It's Glow Skin Beauty. They have a neutralizer. Do you know what's in the neutralizer? It is calcium carbonate. The calcium carbonate is in a powder form, and it's mixed in with some other watery solutions and some other ingredients I can't recall, but the big part of that is calcium carbonate. So that makes sense that calcium carbonate would be a raiser of a pH. It would raise the pH of anything. You put a little calcium carbonate in your pH of 2 chemical peel, you could raise it to a pH of 4. Right? That is going to be a little bit more of what helps neutralize or bring up the pH, which can be known as a buffering agent. I like that one. Then there's something called gelates and thickeners. This is important too. You're going to see a lot of these. So as you see, Car Bomber was a preservative, but is also a thickener. So here we go. A gelat is an agent added, need to fix that one too, to a product to give it a gel-like consistency. Examples of thickening agents and gelates are methyl cellulose, xanthan gum, beeswax, car bomber. Xanthan gum is in a lot of products. It's actually very, very safe, but it's just a thickening agent. You usually see it at the end of a product label, or you should at least. Okay. We went over a little bit of everything with the different categories, you guys, of the, vehicles in a product, the functional ingredients. I've got 2 examples here, and this is what you're going to actually do for me for your activity, which I'm not there yet. So we're not quite done. I do need at least, 15 more minutes to get through some of this stuff because I've got some other safe ingredients that I wanted to go over and things that are not safe. But I just got on Sephora and I said, okay, what's something that they would recognize? So I pulled Tatcha, their indigo overnight repair. You might look at an ingredient label like this and just think, holy cow, that's a whole lot of stuff in there. And yes, it is. But I'll tell you what I found by diving into the ingredient label is that a lot of these carriers, these vehicles, are very, very safe. And what I do know about Sephora, if you read their actual philosophy, is that they do not allow products in their let me mute. There we go. They do not allow products that have any bad carcinogenic vehicles or carriers. So that's actually fun to look at, but you cannot promise that every retailer would do that. You have to do some of your own research sometimes. So I actually took some of these ingredients and I broke it down for you. Let's look at that right now. Okay, so we have their dimethicone again. If you saw on the label, dimethicone is derived from silicone. It's hypoallergenic, non-comedogenic, and non-acnegenic silicone-based polymer. Okay, second only to petroleum, but it is the better emollient. Remember we said that, so that's okay. There is something known as glycerin that we talk about a lot in class, and that is a hydrator or a carrier, but diglycerin is a different one that's similar. It's a highly pure polyol with 4 hydroxyl groups produced through glycerin reaction. So just all it is just kind of similar to glycerin. Distillation and refinement. Diglycerin is widely used as a moisturizer in cosmetics and as a raw material for fatty acid esters and other substances. Okay, so that's fine. Then there's phenyl trimethicone. Remember we talked about that one? It's another silicone. It's a silicone that functions as a hydration, sealing, occlusive, and conditioning agent. So literally by reading this, this product is for drier skin. I would not say that it's the best for acne-prone skin, right? And we know this based on what we've learned so far. Dimethicone is the lighter one of the silicones, but phenyl trimethicone is not. It's a little bit more of a fattier one. It's an occlusive agent, but great for hydration. It has a higher viscosity and a drier finish than some other silicones. Then, I broke it down even further for you. There's some other big words that I just thought y'all might want to look at, but nothing bad about these, nothing toxic. Shocker. Neopentyl glycol. Diheptanoate is a mixture of texture enhancing ingredients such as neopentyl glycol and grape-derived fatty acid heptanoic acid. The compound functions as a non-aqueous, so non-water skin softening agent or emollient and formulary thickening agent. So going back, let me see if I can actually go back 2 seconds to the original. You do have water at the very beginning, you guys, but then we have a lot of these ethicones, right? Dimethicone, phenyl trimethicone, and then we have some other emollients too, which tell you, I mean, this is what it says. It's an overnight repair serum, which means it's going to be thicker than usual. Moving back to where we were. Then we have butylene glycol. We talked about this one. It's a fatty alcohol. It's an organic alcohol derived from distilled corn, petroleum, and sugarcane. Then you have, I went too fast, going backwards. Disosteryl malate is an ester, so ATE, remember? Fatty ester ends in ATE that functions as an emollient in cosmetics. It's created from malic acid and isosteryl alcohol. PEG-10 dimethicone, so PEG-10 dimethicone, interesting, is a synthetic blend of polyethylene glycol and skin protecting silicone that conditions skin and hair. Lots of silicones in here, lots of them. Then there's propanediol. It has an emollient property as well. It prevents your skin from damage by reducing water loss, helps you get softer and smoother skin. Then you have dystere-dimonium hectorite, which is an ingredient based on naturally occurring clay minerals, called the hectorite mineral specifically. This ingredient is used as a thickening agent. So, and I'm not done, obviously, but what I want y'all to realize is that, you know, while I have given you examples of each individual one, whether it's a fatty ester, fatty alcohol, an emollient, a surfactant, or an antioxidant, or a preservative, you know, there's so many different versions of these. I mean, there's probably hundreds of different vehicles, which is why this is a huge category to teach and a big topic to really dive into. But as long as you understand the generics of these actual titles, the sections, the different types of vehicles, then you're good to go. And you could figure this out very easily. Maltodextrin is actually used mostly in food. I had to really dive into this one, and I wanted to kind of showcase it because it's a plant-based sugar derived from corn, rice, or potato, used in cosmetics and personal care, believe it or not, as well as food, used in moisturizers, fillers, used as a binding agent, film-forming agent. It provides body to creams and lotions and is very mild and non-irritating, shockingly, making it ideal for use in products for sensitive skin. So I dove into a lot of the big ones. I didn't dive into every single one, but for those that are the vehicles, I mean, this is really huge. This tells me that this product is completely fine, but it is not for an oilier skin type. It is definitely for an overnight repair, 1000%. I would even venture to say this would not go well on your skin underneath makeup during the daytime. So just read the ingredients, help dive into that with your clients. They will love it. Okay. I had a feeling you guys might like The Ordinary, you know, if you're looking at different price points. And I have actually, with students, done some pH testing on The Ordinary. A lot of their products are actually good. Some of them are kind of questionable in terms of the pH levels, but a lot of them are good. So The Ordinary, this one, I just chose it at random. It's a niacinamide serum, and it has a little bit of zinc. And so this is the only stuff that's in it. This is the ingredient label. So that they have a little bit more of a clean, you know, look, nothing too crazy. But I did want to dive into what is in it. And we're going to do that right now. Okay. Y'all should know what niacinamide is because that's actually not a vehicle. In this case, it is a performance ingredient. So niacinamide can improve skin hydration by preventing evaporation of moisture from the skin into the environment. It's also a natural anti-inflammatory ingredient, so it's great for calming irritated skin. Okay, but also good for people with sensitive skin. What this does not say is how great it is for acne. So this is actually very good for refining pores for acne without being too drying. So niacinamide is, as you know, a really big one today, and it is vitamin B3. So we love that one. Then pentylene glycol. I wanted to go over that one. This is used primarily in day and night creams and sun creams, so sunscreens, or specifically developed for mature skin face masks. Since the substance is able to optimally bind water and thus supply the skin with specific moisture, it is ideal in every skincare or everyday skincare. So pentylene glycol, this helps that one. That one is a fatty alcohol, everybody. So that one is more of an emollient to help this glide on the skin. But if y'all know anything in a dropper, it's still going to be more watery. So probably not a whole lot of that. Then zinc PCA, just in case you wanted to know that one, is a water-soluble zinc salt that is derived from PCA, which is a naturally occurring amino acid that's present in the skin. This active ingredient is used in a wide range of topical skincare products and acne treatments, as well as moisturizers. And zinc, and fun fact about zinc, you know, it's very anti-inflammatory. That's perfect for acne-prone skin, I will tell you. Good for redness as well. And then off to the side, if you happen to want to retail supplements, you could retail zinc. People taking zinc on a regular occurrence can actually see less redness, less inflammation internally. So zinc topically and internally is good. And then there's dimethyl isosorbide, excuse me. It is DMI is what it's known as. This is a highly purity solvent carrier, which offers a safe, effective delivery enhancement mechanism for active ingredients. So safe, effective delivery system is a solvent and a carrier. So dimethyl isosorbide, I said it correctly this time, has very good delivery system. So that's why it's nice and slippy and deliverable very, very well. Then I'm not done yet. Isoscetic 20. There we go. Isoscetic 20 is described as a mild non-ionic surfactant. It's a surfactant, folks, which is noted for its ability to gently cleanse with minimal disruption to skin barrier. So this is where it's going to help that oil and water mix. Okay, ideally, it's going to help the product mix together, be delivered on the skin better. That's what we do know about surfactants. Then ethoxy diglycol is considered a safe, well-tolerated synthetic solvent that helps improve the function, penetration, and texture of skincare products. So that is also very safe. So do y'all see what I mean? There are some safe ones out there, which are these that I am listing. I'm fixing to tell you some that are not so great for you. Okay, so this is how you dive in to that ingredient label and figure out, you know, what is this good for? Is this a fatty ester, a fatty alcohol? Is this more carcinogenic? Is it not carcinogenic? That's what we want to know today. Okay, a few more slides here. Here's what I need y'all to know, okay? Aside from textbook stuff, you know, there are clean products in some retailers and they're made without these, okay? So this is what I wanted to make sure. And oftentimes I will do some comparison charts. I did that with y'all, I want to say last Wednesday on my chemistry presentation where I was comparing retinol products. There was acrylics or acrylates in that one Neutrogena product that was meant for a retinol delivery system, but the retinol was closer to the bottom. Y'all remember that one, right? So acrylates are not good for you. And here is why. It says acrylates such as ethyl acrylate, ethyl methacrylate, butyl methacrylate, methyl methacrylate, tetrahydrofurfuryl methacrylate, trimethyl propane trimethacrylate. Basically, if it has acrylate towards the end of it, it's an acrylate, right? Are acrylics harmful? The International Agency of Research on Cancer, as well as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, y'all know them, have classified acrylates as a possible human carcinogen. Okay. Exposure to acrylates have been linked to skin, eye, and throat reactions, as well as more serious health consequences such as cancer. I will tell you, for those of y'all that are old enough to remember, does anybody get acrylic nails anymore? Not really. Most people get gel over acrylics. Acrylates tend to be very carcinogenic, and especially acrylates or acrylics at the nail shop all come in powder form. And if you are inhaling that before they mix it with the solvent that creates what it is on your nail, it can actually be a carcinogenic health concern. So a lot of these people are no longer doing acrylic nails. They're doing more gel-based nails, which are non-toxic or not as toxic. Then benzophenones. This one is interesting. It's on, I just wanted y'all to know this, on the Proposition 65 list because it can cause cancer. You don't want to see that in a product. Exposure to benzophenone may increase the risk of cancer. The Proposition 65 list requires businesses to determine if they must provide a warning about exposure to listed chemicals, just by the way. So there's companies, there's organizations out there that are now policing all of these ingredients that have been available to us for years. So can y'all just imagine the toxic level we have built up in our bodies? Honestly, we need to be really getting in the antioxidants in our system every day to actually get out all this toxic buildup that is only now coming to fruition. Now, 2022, 2023, you've got companies and organizations that do care, and they don't want to see you have access to any of these ingredients. And I have more to share. We're going to continue over the next couple of slides, and then I'm going to wrap this up, but there's even more that I will dive into with you guys on another day. So the next one, butoxyethanol. This one can be harmful to eyes, skin, kidneys, and your blood. I mean, that's pretty much everything. Your blood runs throughout your body. So this one's not good as well. Butoxyethanol. Then another one, I mean, y'all should know formaldehyde. And I'm just going to go ahead and remind you guys that formaldehyde agents or formaldehyde releasing agents are all in every single one of your regular Coca-Colas and Pepsis. Okay, seriously, this is not good. Drinking sodas, you're literally drinking battery acid, which is a formaldehyde releasing agent, and that's not good. But of course, for skin, formaldehyde is known as a carcinogen as well, which means cancer causing. It was named in the 2015 Allergen of the Year. I don't think I'd want to be on that list by the American Contact Dermatitis Society. It has been shown that formaldehyde may have dangerous health effects to the human body, even at low levels of exposure, get off the sodas, right? Here's your quaternium 15. So while it was on my list earlier, that doesn't mean it's on the good list. It just was a, what was it? It was a, oh my goodness, I can't think of it, a preservative. It was on the preservative list, but we know that it's not good for you. So health concerns are skin irritation. It's known to have human skin toxicity. It's an allergen, possible eye irritant. It is also a formaldehyde releasing preservative. Formaldehyde is often the culprit of skin irritation and allergic reactions. Not good. Quaternium 15 on the bad list. Others. Perfluorooctanoic acid. Okay, this one is not good either. PFOA. PFOA can remain in the body for long periods of time. In laboratory animals given large amounts, PFOA can affect growth and development, reproduction, and injure the liver. More research is needed to assess the human health effects of exposure to this one. So keep that in mind. Now, I have told y'all already, say no to the O's, all right? And this is only, I think I've got 2 on here, but there's more. There's octinoxate, octisalate, oxybenzone. All of those O words have been in every single sunscreen that you've used probably from the moment you've been born. And it's all very toxic, especially to babies, So octinoxate is a no one. Reproductive organs and development, Toxicity. Numerous studies have reported that octinoxate exhibits anti-androgenic activity, which means androgens are male pattern hormones, by the way. So that is terrible for organ development in men specifically and females exposed in utero. So if you're a pregnant woman and you're applying sunscreens with octinoxate, octisalate, or oxybenzone, then you might be harming your unborn child. So really serious things to pay attention to. These effects can be further passed on to their offspring. I would be worried if I were you, right? Then, of course, we all know that parabens are definitely a concern, and those were definitely on the preservative list, but we said preservatives, the better ones, are antioxidants. So, I mean, really today, I mean, most labs are getting away or trying to get away from parabens, but if you walk into any CVS pharmacy or Walmart or anything like that, parabens are everywhere. It's still okay, according to the FDA. Not okay, really, though. The concern with these chemicals, parabens, is that scientific studies suggest that parabens can disrupt hormones in the body. That's a problem, and harm fertility and reproductive organs, affect birth outcomes, and increase the risk of cancer. They can also cause skin irritation. So nothing good about that. There's just better ways to formulate products now. Use the antioxidants. Use the antioxidants as those ingredients that you need to stabilize and hold everything together for long periods of time. Petroleum. So I told y'all that's an emollient, but is not my favorite one. A petroleum product. Petroleum can be contaminated with polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PHAs. Studies suggest that exposure to PHAs, including skin contact over extended periods of time, is associated with cancer. This is why when I'm teaching micropigmentation, I will recommend the lipid drops for aftercare or something that is not petroleum jelly based, you know, and a lot of tattoo artists actually recommend the Aquaphor, which is petroleum based. And of course, we know Vaseline to be petroleum based. Nothing about that is good. It can be contaminated with the PHAs, as they're saying, which literally is associated with cancer over extended periods of time. I mean, how many of us have totally utilized Vaseline? Or if you have any body lotion in your bathroom right now, go and check the label. If it's got petroleum in it, gotta go. Even though it's an emollient and it does spread well and it seemingly moisturizes, it's actually going to sit more on top of your skin. So it's not giving you long-term hydration. It's better for you to use your face grade hyaluronic acid and let that soak into your skin. You might not feel as super duper hydrated on the top, but you're going to get the hydration up underneath, and that's actually even better. So over a longer period of time, the hyaluronic acid paired with squalane on top, which gives you that nice instantaneous glow, that's going to help you over long periods of time. Bring it, face all the way down to body. Then phenoxyethanol, okay, is a preservative used in products, also as a stabilizer in perfumes and soaps. Exposure to phenoxyethanol has been linked to reactions ranging from eczema to severe life-threatening allergic reactions. Infant oral exposure to phenoxyethanol can acutely affect nervous system function. So that one's not good either. Then phthalates really kills me. Phthalates is really what's in most of your synthetic fragrances. And yes, I just had this conversation with you guys, but all of these fragrances and perfumes are made of phthalates, and it's going to kill us all. I'm just telling you. So phthalates, a family of industrial chemicals used to soften polyvinyl chloride, PVC plastic, and as solvents in cosmetics and other consumer products. And of course, I mentioned the, fragrances can damage the liver, kidneys, lungs, and reproductive system. I worry about, women specifically, they're trying to get pregnant and they're using plastics, they're using the perfumes, they're, being exposed to a lot of these things day in and day out. They're using the petroleum, things of that sort. We're getting to the end, I promise. And remember, I said say no to the O, so this was one of the three. So oxybenzone. This one is toxic as well. This is because some studies have shown that oxybenzone can cause skin allergies. In addition, studies in animal and in human cells in laboratories show that oxybenzone can interfere with how some hormones work. Other evidence suggests that oxybenzone may be hazardous to coral reefs. And so, nowadays it's really all about the environment too. I'm constantly telling my husband, if you actually take one more paper towel off that roll than necessary, I'm going to lose it, right? Or let's make sure we're using the nicer, more biodegradable trash bags or whatever it is. Let's actually care about our environment for a minute as well. And then polyacrylamide, I really shouldn't have included that because it's actually in the acrylic list that we already talked about, but acrylics are not good. It's going to cause nerve damage in humans, including muscle weakness, impaired muscle coordination, particularly from industrial exposure to large levels of the chemical. Okay. And that's the last slide I got for you. So really quick, I want to go over a couple things and of course your assignment today, but I hope y'all enjoyed this. I've got a couple typos I'm going to fix on here, not a problem, but I do want to show y'all where this is located for now, just in case you want to go back and look at this list. Make sure you go to the student portal. It is right here in the top right of seaestheticsinstitute.com. See if I can click on it here. The password is skin4567. Type that in. You're going to log in. Okay. You're going to hit login one more time. And you're going to click on education videos and slideshows. Please make sure y'all check this out every once in a while. I'm adding more and more stuff to this list here, which is all of your documents. Okay. I've even got that calculator worksheet up there for you from that discussion we had on Wednesday the other week, where we kind of talked about, price per pump, price per dropper of product. But right here, cosmetic chemistry and functional ingredients. I just added that this morning, but I'm actually going to upload the new one once I fix something. And then I did add the hormone replacement therapy and testing resources from our discussion on Wednesday in person too. So that is there for you. And then again, all of the videos. So if you do want to go back and watch business finance and some of those metrics, and Brandon actually speaks on this one, that one right there in the middle, business finance, med spa calculator course, that one is really, really good. But there's a bunch of other good ones, and I will add more to this for you. So whether you're a current student or not, we want to make sure you'll have resources to do what you got to do, because education is key. We're going to go to the assignments now. Please screenshot this right now for me. And I'll leave this up for just a few moments. And I'm going to check messages. Okay. And I'll get back to y'all in just a minute with these questions too. For those of y'all that texted me, I'll respond to y'all privately. So thank you for your patience. But this is due by 3. If you need an extension, go ahead and text me that you need an extension if you don't mind. And my cell phone number, if you don't know it, is 803-629-0658. Or you can email me too, but texting sometimes a little bit faster if you need an extension. Now, I'm not going to give you an extension until tomorrow. You need to get it done today, but I would definitely get this off your plate by 3 so you can enjoy the rest of your afternoon. But here's what you're going to do. So make sure that screenshot them. You're going to research 10 products, 5 of them being professional brand and 5 of them being over the counter. And I want y'all to look at the ingredient list. And I know y'all are laughing because I totally included Kylie's Skin and the over the counter branded products. I want y'all to tell me if you think it's good or bad, right? And I actually want you to make sure, and when you're researching this, and you can Google a lot of these ingredients, if it's not on my presentation, that's totally fine. But if it's carcinogenic, if something's toxic, please share it with me. Or if it's fine, that's fine too. But your professional brands, BioElements, choose a product from their website, whatever floats your boat. Image Skincare, choose a product. Eminence Organic Skincare should be really good because, of course, they're very organic and, they do things pretty naturally. Make sure you choose one from there. Obagi Medical, choose one from their skincare line. Choose a product from IS Clinical Skincare. And I do want you to break down most of the ingredients. If y'all don't get to every single ingredient in the ingredient label, that's fine, okay? But do a decent amount, okay, per product, because I want to make sure y'all break down those vehicles. And you can do the actives as well if you would prefer to, because that's always fun. But I want you to choose, of course, mostly vehicles to break down. And then over-the-counter products, the brands that I chose, choose a product from Oil of Olay. Ooh, we hate that, right? Neutrogena, boo. Choose one product. Cetaphil. A lot of dermatologists recommend that because they don't know what else to recommend sometimes, and it's not good for you. And I want you to tell me why. Kylie Skin, and then Clinique. Clinique. Oh, Clinique. Clinique has that yellow, dramatically different moisturizer. Hint, hint. It's got mineral oil in it. That might be the one you want to look at because the first ingredient is mineral oil. Okay. So if y'all have any questions, and I'm already receiving some texts. Yes, yes, yes. I will respond to all y'all about these assignments and the extension. So thank y'all for those of y'all texting me now. I'll respond in just a moment. But make sure that y'all have screenshotted this for me. And let's get these assignments done. Okay, this is more of a fun one. I hope y'all have a really good morning. And I cannot wait to see y'all again tomorrow. Bye, guys.